Live here on my channel, Meta Messiah. You have to excuse me, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, but I'm doing my best here to be able to speak clearly and to speak frankly about Okinami and a comment by Gary Gensler, head of the SEC, following the approval of the spot ETF for Bitcoin. And it was funny because if it's all verified that he said this, I just got an X post that he said a spot ETF, institutional type investment vehicle for Bitcoin, is not something Satoshi, who created Bitcoin, would have wanted. And I agree with that. It's not something he wanted, but it's something that Satoshi knew would become inevitable if his experiment succeeded. His experiment succeeded. And this mysterious project some 13, 14 years ago, actually now, 15 years since Bitcoin, Satoshi was successful in creating an alternate asset to hedge against inflation and failures in fiat, an alternative to gold. Hence why Bitcoin, well, it's the most valuable cryptocurrency, but it also has it's the gold standard. And I agree. Institutionalization is the antithesis, it's the opposite of DeFi, decentralization. Not something that Satoshi would have wanted. I've stated this in previous videos that I believe strongly that Satoshi and Ryoshi have a connection. I think of it sort of like a clandestine group that is passing on very important knowledge, but also very important philosophies of DeFi in a very disciplined, I call it a cloister, very hidden from the public, very dedicated to this cause, like a bunch of monks living, or like the Knights Templar living outside of regular society, creating a new banking system using cryptocurrency as an alternative to be your own bank instead of being victimized more or less by a banking system that it serves only itself in the end. It's just we all have been, forced into using it for our common everyday transactions, and all money is a modicum of exchange. We use fiat to buy goods and services, and now we're entering into an age where crypto is going to buy goods and services. It's rather significant. The whole approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF is like a historic moment where the public now is going to become massaged and made aware through various media outlets that Bitcoin has value, that cryptocurrency, while it has its pitfalls and scams and everything, just like the stock market, okay, just like real estate. You ever buy a timeshare? I mean, come on, that's one of the stupidest investments in most cases you'll ever buy, because they're worthless in the end, other than the time you buy to maybe use it. You've seen Enron, you've seen other scams with stocks, that we would call rug pulls of the stock market, but Enron being a big one. We saw a number of things, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, the wrapping up of commercial paper, mainly mortgages, collateralized debt obligations, mortgages, in making them investment vehicles and selling it to the public with these great percentages of return, 8 to 10%. And it was crap. It was a bunch of bad loans, because in the decade from 1999 and late 90s through 2006, 2007, this crap was being sold. Anybody could get a mortgage. And they were selling these as securities, investments, you know, CDOs and mortgage paper being bundled good with bad and selling it to Wall Street, and Wall Street selling it to you. And if you bought it and lost and you saw the crash in 2007, 2008, lots of victims came out of that. And it was because of a completely unregulated regulatory deficit surrounding just that particular type of investment, and it crashed Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers. And led to an economic crash. And a lot of us are still, you know, it's a pain remembrance. It's still on many of our minds is as to what happened there. And then Bitcoin emerges from the dust in that 2007, 2008 market crash. Satoshi comes out with Bitcoin and says, we need an alternative here. The banks are not trustworthy anymore. They're in cahoots with the government, and the government's in cahoots with them. And they are, because that's the system. That is simply, politically speaking, the system. The Federal Reserve System, centralized banking, so on and so forth. You know the story. This is the evil dragon. Well, now we're in the year of the dragon, hopefully a good dragon. I put that on the thumbnail for this video going live. And I see a rebirth of Bitcoin in Okinami. And the reason I say that is because of its origin story. This very mysterious origin story of this token emerging and being a pure DeFi project. And one way to keep BlackRock and, you know, Fidelity and the big institutions, the elites, away from this special token is to keep the liquidity pool open. And I've been giving that a lot of thought to talk about the LP and, you know, close to 200,000 sitting in there, and it's still there and nobody's taking it. Could it be taken? I don't know. What if the dev threw away the keys? What if the dev basically said, you know what, I'm going to make the most unusual scenario here so that the elites stay away from it, and I'm going to keep the LP lock open. And communities will just add LPs. He talks about the dev of Okinami. He talks about this grandiose, this big liquidity pool unlike anything we've ever seen. And that's the surge leading to this. Why are all these people going to eventually want to buy into Okinami? The community with its story by itself, it's only going to catch wildfire if there's a follow-up to this story somehow through the dev, through the community, in which case people are convinced that Okinami is something special, and perhaps it is a rebirth of Bitcoin as one of its narratives. And I'm not saying necessarily that as an ERC20, it is its own thing like Bitcoin is its own blockchain or whatever. But the narrative is more specifically about what a rebirth should look like. And that rebirth is more central to the idea, the notion of pure DeFi, like Ryoshi envisioned. And as such, if this is a rebirth of Bitcoin, it's going to be because it has the same underpinnings of why Bitcoin was beloved by the people of the time. We're seeing institutions becoming a big part of the problem, becoming a threat. Well, what's going to counter that is a good DeFi token that people will want to own, like Bitcoin, to say, screw the man, screw the institutions, I'm going to own something that can't be owned by them. I don't think they'll want to own it if the LP is unlocked. It makes anyone weary to buy it, and understandably so. A lot of people are waiting for this aha moment, this, you know, revelation to come where it's like the dev is going to come back and here's climbing Kailash, here's the roadmap and the white paper. And that very well could happen. And we may see, this is my speculation, we may see the dev say, I'm never going to unlock that. Or I'm never going to lock that pool. That pool is basically burned by virtue of it being in this limbo forever. And it keeps away big institutions who will never buy this because I always wonder if it'll be rugged. But there we go, back to faith. If it's always about faith, isn't money always about faith? Is it your currency really about gold backing it? No. Is it about how big the economy is behind it? Yeah, but your faith in that economy. Likewise, with any token, the community's faith in the token is what keeps its value there because people don't sell it. Although we did have a community member very generously give away quite a bit of it, about 15,700 to the Vitalik Buterin run COVID relief and related pandemic charity, Canro, and that was a very generous offering. And so we have Vitalik's hands indirectly and almost directly with not just the 500 Okinami that was sent to him personally, but to Canro, the charity. And I'd like to underscore that in this video. That was a very kind gesture of this community member. Moving on from that, you know, I've seen so many rugs and scams. I've seen so much garbage going back and forth on the DeFi blockchain, you know, greater market, from Safarium to Megabot to this PNDC, Poly OX, 0x, Poly and his pump and dump scams, Safe Moon, you know, and also lots of failed projects. It just, you know, the devs they talk it up, and I'd call those basically benign rugs. Mainly, there was nothing malicious about it. Maybe they made a little money. The project failed, and it just, you know, dwindles to nothing, and they abandon it. A failure versus a rug is a big difference. In terms of an intentional rug, they're either selling their tokens or they're pulling the liquidity pool. There's something more fraudulent, scam-related, con artist type shit. But we've seen it all. All of us who've been in this since 2021 have seen it all. And it's disheartening because it's like, what are we going to put our money in this time around that's going to, you know, make it through this bull market? And I'm like, well, weirdly enough, I'm not selling any Okinami tokens anytime soon because I don't see any reason why it's going to be a rug. I could see it, the community growing it. I could see the dev making a huge return with it and saying, here's EIP 4844. Here's the surge. This is what this is all about. Could be that it was handed to the community to take it to its next level. Could be that there's a myriad of factors behind it. But the level of testing on Garelli leads me to believe that why would you do all that stuff if you're just going to hand it to the community? There's another purpose. And it's a hidden purpose because this has to be done according to a very secret timetable, very secret methodology and all that. Especially if ETH developers have their hand in it at all, they want to make sure they're not doxxed. They don't want to be known. Although we have very strong evidence to suggest that there's ETH involvement. I'm just going to say that. I've seen the wallet connections. I've seen the things that were tweeted when it was Twitter, now X, you know, talking about stealth projects, talking about, you know, things that sound too close to Okinami not to be related. And yet, to this day, the ETH Foundation has mentioned nothing about any of their own solutions in-house, and they would never do that. Because ETH is ETH. ETH is always going to be ETH. Ethereum is its own token. And whether they branch off with things, and their devs go off and they make other things, you know, they're going to get support from the ETH Foundation. So in conclusion, I might more metaphorically say, or I'd hold on to a more metaphorical, allegorical narrative here for Okinami as a rebirth of Bitcoin, especially in light of the co-opting of Bitcoin, the institutional monopolization of Bitcoin that is going to happen in the years to come. And there'll be old, you know, OGs, and there'll be like, diehard holders of Bitcoin, never going to sell, this and that. But they're always selling. Everybody who has a lot of Bitcoin selling when they sell, and they buy when they buy. It's going to be traded, but they're always going to hold on to it in some way, some fashion. But the competitor now is BlackRock and Fidelity, not Vanguard, but a lot of others. ARK, Kathy Woods and all that. And so, like, if you're not being distracted by aliens in the Miami Mall, aliens flying overhead, if you're not being distracted by the election this year, if you're not being distracted by the many, many media distractions, which is the common man and woman out there just, doing their thing, Bitcoin, yeah, whatever, it's being... this is just Wall Street being dirty. I'm not going to buy into that Ponzi scheme and all this and that. A lot of people are going to miss out. I mean, it doesn't matter what your politics are. It doesn't matter what your economic philosophies are. Nobody who wants to have a decent standard of living and money in the bank looks back on the dot-com boom and say, I had no problem not putting any money. I have no regrets not putting any money into Amazon and Apple and Netflix and all those other dot-com things that, made people vast fortunes. Like, anybody who wanted a good standard of living and money in the bank is like, damn it, if I only just held on to my gut. I was in college at the time, in school, and I still regret it. And because I could have put something in there. But back then, beer and parties and women and entertainment, that was where all my money was going, like a lot of other people. I wasn't a smart investor like a lot of people when they're in school or just getting out of school. And I thought about investing in Amazon. I thought about it. I was like, it's like $3, $3 a share. What's $300? That would have been worth a lot of money now. And so I digress. The Okinami community, I feel, is very strong still, very dedicated. They've proved their mettle. If the dev ever watches any of my videos, I'll say this community is deserving of whatever rewards comes to it. Save for me, I don't know if I'm worthy of anything. Maybe just a view on my video, maybe a super thanks here and there, maybe a subscription, a share, just boosting my channel. It means a lot to me. I cover the story not because I'm a whale. I'm not a whale. If you watch this far, I am not a whale in Okinami. This is for entertainment purposes only. I like crypto. I own various cryptos, but I'm not a whale of Okinami. I have what I own, and I'm happy with it. This is for entertainment purposes. This is not investment advice. This is do your own research. All the other disclaimers, it's in the description anyway. Do your own due diligence, of course. It's all about what you believe and have faith in. If it's not about that, then it's because you know. And in investing, there's very little that you know. Because lots of it's being hidden from you so that you don't know when to buy, don't know when to sell. That's the game. It's been played for a long time, since they were selling tulip paper in Amsterdam 300 years ago or whatever. A very big bubble's about to form, and it's going to pop like the last one. I think this is going to be way bigger in magnitude and length of time, and it's going to come down very hard. So until next time, we'll see ya, and thanks for watching.